guys, it is Carl Brown, GuitarLessons365.com. Got a great one off of David Gilmour's latest album. This one's called Scattered. This is probably, for most fans of his favorite solo on the album, rightfully so. And it's got a lot of soloing in it. It's got a complete acoustic guitar solo, which I'm going to do note for note. It's also got an absolutely killer electric guitar solo. So there's about 3 minutes of guitar soloing in this song, maybe more. So we're going to go through all of it. But we're also going to go through all of these chords, which aren't really played on guitar. It's more of a keys and orchestral. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to arrange all those chords for guitar through all the sections too. So you can play the full harmony that the orchestra is playing. It's some really cool stuff that underneath Dave when he's doing the verses, or the kind of this little interlude section, which is really cool in the middle. Anyway, we're going to take a look at all of it, but please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell if you really want to support what I do here on YouTube and actually learn more about David. You can see I got my David Gilmour. If you know this, you know. But anyway, back in the day, sure, David Gilmour. But my guitar course has a David Gilmour course in it, so you can really learn the inner workings of his lead guitar style. It's a really popular course at my academy. I love David Gilmour. He's one of my favorite players. And everything he does in especially his electric guitar work, you're going to know very well what's going on if you did that course. And if you click the link in the description, you're going to see a special YouTube only link for people who watch my videos on YouTube, which I appreciate it. But you don't make any money putting guitar lesson videos up on YouTube. The artist gets all the revenue. So this is kind of how this game works. So the only way is if you guys support me in other ways, and the best way to do it is join my Guitar Academy, and you'll see a link to that, and that'll give you 40% off my annual subscription rate, and you'll have that price for life. If you've never had an account, you get a free 7-day trial, full access to all the courses, the live stream that I do every week with Academy members, personalized support from me, everything, even in the trial. So please go check it out. All right, let's jump into the track here. I am in standard tuning, so nothing big. So the song just kind of starts with this kind of like a synth of the strings just kind of fading in on an E minor chord. And I'll preface this is my arrangement of what's going on. All right, so when you see the guitar players, he usually has about 84 musicians on stage with him when he's playing, and each one's kind of doing their own little thing around it, but it's not like exactly like the studio recording and stuff. And I'm just taking all that business, all the band, the orchestra, and everything, doing everything they're doing, and then putting it all together into one guitar chord progression. So that's what you're going to be seeing here. I will talk about, there's a little thing in the interlude where Dave plays kind of these little single notes, and we'll talk about that. But this is my arrangement of the harmony of the song. Anyway, so when the verse comes in, we have this very cool harmony that keeps an E drum going the whole time. All right, so it's in E minor. And what he does is he plays a lot of chords out of the E natural minor scale over that E drone. So that sounds really cool. So I'll play through it one more time. So I'm obviously adding a little bit of rhythm to it so we can just strum it on guitar. So we're going to start with this E minor that we did in the intro. So that's just a bar at the 7th fret. You can bar from the high E string all the way across to the A string. Open E, low E is open. And then in front of that bar, you'll have the 9th fret there on the D, 9 on the G, 8 on the B. There, what we're going to do is we're going to go to a D major chord, but we're going to keep the E in the bass. So all you have to do for that is just simply lift up these 3 fingers and really kind of strum across to the B string now. So it's still that opening, and then 7 across from the A to the B string. then he does a cool one. This is a C add sharp 11 chord, C major add sharp 11 with E in the bass. So this is going to be the low E still open with the 7th fret there on the A string, and then borrowing the 5th fret across the D and the G, and then you're going to play this. Very cool. The 7th fret there on the B string. From there, we're going to go to a D add 9 chord. Still keeping E in the bass. So it's going to D add 9 over E. So this is going to be the 5th fret there on the A, 4th on the D string, 2nd on the G, and then that 5th fret there on the B string. Kind of a stretch, but a really nice chord when you put this underneath it. There are other ways to kind of name these chords, but the simplest is just to go, this is the D add 9, you're just keeping it over an E drone. And then from there, it goes to a C add 9, so this is a lot easier. You just kind of shift back, very popular chord form. This 3rd fret there on the A, 2nd on the D, open G, 3rd fret on the B. You can have the open high E if you want, but the important thing is keep that low E in there. And then go back up to that D add 9. Then back to the C add 9. Then back to the D add 9 with the E in the bass. Now, when you play, especially this D add 9, especially in like later verses in the song, you might hear this high F sharp in there too in the voicing. I can hear it in the orchestral voicing. And it adds a little bit more dissonance, I guess. So if you want to do like if the chord's not hard enough for you as is, you can just borrow the 2nd fret and get the 2nd fret in there on the high E. Or you can just ignore it. Anyway, you'll hear that kind of voicing later on. But anyway, so all together for the verse chord progression. On the E minor. All right, so from there, it goes through, it repeats that again for verse 2, and there's like kind of like a swell synthy type effects. Could be guitar swells, whatever, but if it is, we're not doing them. But when we get to verse 3, we have a definitive guitar part, these little chord stabs that are being those triads that he's doing on top of it. It's done on electric. I'm going to switch to electric in a little bit, but I don't want to go back and forth. So I'm going to do those chord stabs that happen starting in the 3rd verse on acoustic. All right, but pretty simple chords, not a big deal. So it looks like this. And then a crazy section starts. Anyway, but we're going to start here, this E minor here. just up the, so it follows the chord progression from when we start on the E minor chord, and then over the D chord, it's a D triad, and over the C chord, it's a C triad, and then he just takes it to the lower voice, D and C triads, and then back up to the higher voiced ones. So it's just, each one's already hit twice each time. So the first one is 7th fret of the high E, this E minor, 7th fret of the high E, 8 on the B, 9 on the G. So we have this down to a D major one when it gets to the D chord. So we have the 5th fret on the high E, 7th on the B, 7th on the G. So you get that a couple times, then take that down 2 frets to the C major. And then we're going to go back up to the D major, but we're going to take it to a lower voicing of the triad. So this is this across the 7th fret bar, across the 7th fret of the D, G, the B. Kind of more mellow. And then 2 frets down from that is the C. We'll go back to the C chord, but it's just going to be on those same 2 strings. And then back up to the D version of those between strings sets 2 and 4. And then we're going to climb back up with a higher voice triad, starting with this C here at the 3rd fret, and then back up to the D at the 5th fret, and then end it with the E minor. And there's like 4 times here while it's right in the kind of the orchestra setting up this, got a little interlude section. All right, so all together for the chord stabs one more time. Not as riveting without all the orchestra stuff, I get it. But now we get to a really cool part. Now this one, once again, I'm taking all the harmony that the orchestra's doing and the band's doing and consolidating it into one guitar part. Now what David does during this interlude section is just, he just plays a single line. Kind of just takes it and plays the bottom line on some distorted guitar. So it's just like, that's all David is doing that I can tell live. He's just kind of taking the bottom, the bass line, that 6th fret, and then working his way down on each chord here that I'm about to show you the actual chords. And then it kind of resolves to B flat minor. But we'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, let me go through the actual chords. So this is as what's being played by the full orchestra and stuff. Very cool chords. It's fully diminished 7 chords resolving to a dominant 7, and it just kind of does that chromatically down. So we start with this B flat diminished 7 chord, and then we're going to eventually end up in B flat minor. So briefly, and then he transitions back. So very cool. Looks like this. Very, very interesting section. Anyway, obviously I'm adding some rhythm to it that's not on the actual recording, but that's what I do. Anyway, so we have a full bar here at the 6th fret. This first diminished, so it's the same chord, 2 chord shapes, just kind of going down. So we have a full bar at the 6th fret. Then in front of that, you're going to play the 7th fret on the A string. Then the 8th fret there on the D string, 6th fret, which you're holding with the bar there on the G, and then the 8th fret there on the B. You're just just strum that one for a little bit. Let your neighbors know you learned a new chord. And then we're going to resolve that. Basically, just take the bar down to the 1 fret. You're going to leave the pinky where it's at. Just take the bar down 1 fret to the 5th fret. And then in front of that, you're still holding that pinky at the 8th fret on the B, but also add 7th fret there on the A with your ring finger. And then the 6th fret there on the G. Which makes that an A dominant 7 chord. So it is from B flat diminished, resolves down a half step. And then we're going to do the same thing. Now we're going to go to A flat diminished, so at the 4th fret. So that same chord we did at 6th, here at the 4th. Resolve down a half step to that G dominant 7. So it's the exact same move. Then we're going to do this again. G flat diminished 7. Resolve down a half step to the F dominant 7. And that's going to finally take us from 5-1 to B flat minor. So I'm going to do this here because we have a cool chord that comes at the end. So I'm going to go back up to this full bar here at the 6th fret, and then in front of that 8th fret on the A and the D. And then you hear this, it's a minor major 7th chord, a B flat minor major 7th chord. And you can just do it by playing the 5th fret on the high E. I'm doing it like this. So I'm playing the 6th fret on the low E string, with my middle finger, and then ring finger is going to do the 6th fret on the G, 6th fret on the B, handled by the pinky, and then this 5th fret on the high E string with my index finger. So I think I'm going to pick this, and then so it comes out of. Kind of let that ring out, and then the whole band, the whole orchestra goes down to a big old fat D minor 9. Very, very cool. No, it'll be the hardest probably chord for you to play in the song. There's no bars in it, but you know, just kind of rips your fingers apart. So, but if you want to do it, it's very, very cool. I mean, there's other ways, you know, you can do it like the Andy Timmons way or whatever. This one sounds really cool. So this is Andy Timmons. What am I doing? I'm saying Andy Timmons. Wrong Andy. The one in The Police. I have my horrible names. I'm not even going to talk about it. Anyway, that Andy. I know the guitar, but I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to do 5th fret there on the A string, and then the 3rd fret there on the D, 2nd on the G. So this stretch is not great. And then we're going to have this 5th fret on the B string. If you can get to that chord, it's really nice to let that ring out when that orchestra is just kind of doing that for a second. And then he brings everything back up to the verse, back up to E minor. And from there, we get to, we have this little acoustic guitar line that comes in over this. So it's over the verse chords, and this acoustic guitar melody kind of works our way into the acoustic solo. So I'm going to play all that for you. So I have that thing that happened kind of over the verse, and then do the actual solo itself. And the solo and this section, both of these sections are over just the verse chords. All right, so let me play through it for you real quick. the end of that solo is kind of obviously cut off by the electric solo that comes in, which is killer, by the way, which we're going to take a look at note for note next. So yeah, this solo is kind of, it's got some really nice stuff in it. So we're going to start here with that melody that happens it's really in the verse that kind of leads us into this acoustic solo. So it's kind of over the same verse chords here, and we have this first phrase. So this is over the E minor. So you're going to play this over any of the E minor chords, and then we have another phrase we're going to play over any of the D major chords. And then we're going to have another phrase that will play over any of the C major chords. So this E minor, so that's sliding into the 9th fret there on the D string, roll over to the 9th on the G, back to the 9th on the D. And then you're going to go to the 8th fret here. When you play this 8, kind of slightly just bend it up slightly. And then you're going to end it with a couple of 9s here on the G string. So it is. Gonna repeat that. All right, and then we're going to do, it moves to a D type chord. We know the progression for the verse. And then we'll have this over that. So there's only a 1 note difference. That note on the G string is from now, instead of on the 9th fret, it's down here at the 7th fret. So we have, everything else is the same. Obviously that ending note though is still on the 9th fret. So it's kind of, it's that note in the middle. But after the bend on the B string, you're still going to resolve the phrase there at the 9th fret there on the G. So we have both of them together. You can play each twice. Then it goes down to a C chord in the progression, and we have this phrase. So that is going to be a hammer from 9 to 10 on the D string. Then pick that 10 again, and then the same little ending, because there's a slight bend up on the 8th fret on the B, and then the 9th fret on the G a couple times. So it is. So from there, it goes back and forth between the C version of the lick done twice and the one of the D chord. So back to the C, back to the D. And then we have that little lick right there at the end when it gets back to the E chord that takes us into the actual solo. All right, so far I'll just play through the whole thing, just the stuff that's going on over the verse chords, but it should be pretty easy to follow. So. So that little last lick is just, that's going to be, kind of starts the same. And then we just do that 8-7 on the B string, 9-7, and then slide into the 9th fret there on the, and then we have this. Then we're into the solo proper, but obviously we're already soloing. All right, so but it comes. So we're gonna start here with that, and then we're gonna. So sliding into the 12th fret. Now the exact positions, I think I'm pretty sure that these are kind of where he's playing them. Obviously he's playing most everything down here, so I'm positive of that. But there's a couple of. You can be doing it like that, or there. And when he plays, especially the acoustic part live, he's kind of always just improvising and just kind of messing around. So I don't really see him doing a lot of things that are When he goes to the electric part, he'll quote a lot of the actual solo there, but for the acoustic part, he's just kind of winging it. So I can't really say, okay, he's playing here, you know, because he's not playing it note for note live. So anyway, so we have this. So that sliding into the 12th fret there on the G, I'm sorry, B string, then over to 12 on the G, and then 10 on the B, then 9 on the G. Then we're going to climb up the scale. So that's 9 on the, so let's go ahead and learn this scale pattern real quick. A lot of the solo is going to be out of this scale. So it's just E minor scale here in the 7th position. So it's just going to make everything easier to learn. So 7, 9, 10 on the A, 7, 9, 10 on the G. You can go down here too, but he doesn't use that anyway. So 7, 9, 10 on the D, 7, 9 on the G, and then 7, 8, 10 on both the B and the high string. So it's an E minor, E natural minor, pretty much chord progression. So that's what he's using over it. There's a couple of notes, a little Phrygian action that he'll do a couple times, but that's not a big part of the solo. All right, so we're here at the kind of the start of the actual solo. When it slides into that 9th fret on the D, and then over the 9th on the G, and then this is where we have kind of like a Phrygian thing, real quick. I'm sorry, like this. So that's after you slide into the 9 on the D and then go over to the 9 on the G. You're gonna, it's a quick little, just really grace note really. It's 9, hammer on 10, pull lock off to 9 and pull off to 7. Don't make it so deliberate like, but it's kind of really, really quick. So there's, and then from there we're just gonna play 9, 7, over to 9 on the D, and then it's just kind of like a 9 on the G string, then slide into it. Then we have this. So that's, so it kind of is, it sounds like he goes 7 and then picks that 9 twice on the G, and then over to 8 on the B string. And then we play 9 on the G, 8, 10 on the B string, so, and then back to the 9 on the G string. Then you play 8 on the B string, and then we're going to slide up to it. So this next phrase looks like this. All right, so from this 8 on the B string, slide to the 12th fret, pick that a few times, and then we'll play 12, 13, 10, and then play 10, 12, 8, then 8, 10, then you pick 8 and kind of slide down to 7. So this, so after you play 9, 7, 7 on the G string, then over to a few times with the 7 on the A string. All right, and then we have this next phrase, looks like this. I've kind of really taken a lot of that scale pattern now. So we have this, so that's going to slide into that 9th fret on the D string again, over to 7 on the G string, back to the 9 on the D. So from there we have 9 on the G, 7, 8, pick the 8 again. And then back down to 7. And then he has this little chromatic lick. So that's going to really softly play, because it's like he's doing pull-offs on acoustic, so they're not going to really pop out that much. So, so from there we have 9 on the G, 7, 8, pick the 8 again. And then back down to 7. And then he has this little chromatic lick. So that's going to really softly play, because it's like he's doing pull-offs on acoustic, so they're not going to really pop out that much. So he's got that lick, which he uses in a lot of his solos, which is just kind of this 10 on the B string, pull off to 9, 8, 7, kind of just. And then he has this little descending run. So that's mostly a pattern until we get to the very bottom. So it's kind of out of that E minor scale that we covered before. So we have 7, 9, 7 on the G string. And then 10 on the D, 7 on the high E, on the G string, and then back to 10 on the D. So it's kind of like this lick. You start one note in the scale. So in this case, the 7th fret there on the G, play one note up and come back down. So it's a little 3-note lick. And then you start the same thing for the next note down in the scale. So that's here at the 10th fret on the D string. So you're gonna go like that. And then 9, 10, 9 on the D. Then he skips down and does that 9, 10, 9 on the A string. So it is. And then after he does it, he kind of just messes around with kind of like hitting the 10 again. So it goes. So probably 10, 9 a couple times, pull off to 7, and then shift back here to the 5th position, 7, 5. So altogether that little run. All right, next phrase. All right, getting towards the end here. So after that, so that's going to be sliding into the 7th fret there on the A string, over to 5 on the D string, back to that 7 on the A. From there, you're going to slide into the 9th fret on the D string. So you slide in there and then pick 7 a couple times on the G string, back to that 9 on the D string, over to 9 on the G. So this. We have this. So that's going to be 7, 9 on the G string, then 7, 8 on the B string, and then you just kind of like pick the 7th fret there a couple times on the G. So this. All right, and then we have this. So that is, you're kind of holding that 7 after you've picked it a couple times, and then we have the. So that's going to be a quick little run. So that's 9 on the D string, 7, 9 on the G string, and then 8, 7 on the B string, and then you're going to kind of pick across this D major here, triad. So you have to, after you play that 8, 7, then you pick that 7 again, go over to 7 on the G, and then pick the 7 on the G again, over to a couple times on that 7th fret there on the D string. Then that's sliding in now to the 11th fret here on the G string, and then slide back down to the 9th fret. And then we have this little double stop run that ends the solo, and obviously this is what the electric guitar solo comes in over towards the end of this. So unless you have multiple guitar players in the band, nobody's going to be playing this probably. You're going to want to play the main solo, but it looks like this. All right, so this is up here at the 11th fret there on the G, and then the 10th fret there on the B string. So you play those two notes together a couple times, then down 2 frets, then do that again. So it's kind of that rhythm. 1, 2. And then we kind of end it up here at the 12th fret there on the G and the B. So it is. it's just between those 3 double stops. So you gotta kind of memorize. Dun, 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 dun. And then this final little descending. So that's sliding into these double stops here at the 12th fret on the G and the B. And then back down to the 10th fret there on the B and the 11 on the G. Then that same thing, 2 frets lower, 8 and 9. And then a bar here at the 7th fret across the G and the B. Now this could obviously be played up here. Like I said, I can't really see him do this. And then here, this is the 9th fret. This is kind of where I just think it makes more sense to play it. So 10 on the D, 9 on the G. And then 9 on the D, 7 on the G, 7 on the A, 5 on the G, and then 5 on the D, 4 on the G. So far away this. And then the last two are going to be over here, 9th fret on the A, 7th on the D, and then move that down 2 frets to 7 on the A, 5 on the D. All together. Alright, now the fun really begins. We're going to take a look at his really killer electric guitar solo. Alright, so I'm going to play through that note for you, and then I'll show you how to play it phrase by phrase.
So there's David at his most epic, very fun solo. Just you can play it over and over again for days. It's just beautiful, and then he just starts soaring. That second half is just really killer. All right, so we're gonna go through the whole thing, phrase by phrase. Now, the first phrase looks like this. So that's gonna start here. I'm on the neck pickup, obviously, and this first half of the solo, he's using a little less gain. Then he kicks in more gain. It could be a big muff. He's a big muff guy. I'm not sure. I don't. But you will be kicking. You'll be going to the bridge pickup, basically, the second half of the solo, and then kicking in a little bit extra gain. So we're going to start here though on the neck pickup. So that's going to be 12, 15 on the B string into a bend at the 15th fret. Release. And pull off to that 12th fret real quick. And then another couple bends at the 15. Another pull off there, so wait this. Then we're gonna go over to the, that melody right there, which is just gonna be 14, a bend at the 14th fret there on the G string. And then 14, 12, 14 on the G, and then another bend. So this. So all together. All right, from there we have this. All right, so that's gonna start. Into a slide here at the 9th fret on the G string, over to 8 on the B string, 10, a bend and release. So, and then you're gonna, after you do that, release that bend, you can pull off to the 8. And then he starts this descending. So we start this little descending, so after you pull off there the 8, you're now gonna go back to the 10 and pull off 10 to 8 over to 9 on the G string, and then play 8 on the B string, and then pull off 9, 7 on the G string. It's kind of like a it's kind of a descending 3-note pattern. 3 notes down from that note, then the next note down. 3 notes down from that. So, and then we're gonna start the next 3-note pattern, but we're gonna do a quick slide at the end of it. So it's gonna be a pull off from 9 to 7 on the G string. And when you get to that 9 on the D string, slide it down real quick to the 7th. So with this. Then pull off to 5, over to 7 on the A string, back to 5. And gotta really dig into this 7th fret there, on bend and release. Back down to 5, over to 7 on the low on the A string, and then back to that 5. So we have this all together for that run. From there we have this. So that's going to be a quick little slide into the 9th fret there on the G string, then play 8, 10, and then we're going to go into some oblique bends. Oblique bends, one note is being held while the other one's being bent. So, well, the other one's moving. So we basically have the 10th fret on the high E string, and then the 10th fret there on the B string, and you're gonna bend them. So you bend up the note on the B string, release it, and then do it a few times. A couple more times, so it goes. So. From there we have this. So that's gonna. That's 12 on the B string to roll over 12 on the high string, and then back down to that 12 on the B. Then it's a half step bend and release at the 14th fret on the high string, over to 12 on the B string, and then you come down to the bend and release at the 12th fret on the high string, then 10th fret on the B string. Yeah, dig in. And then we have so right there he does. And I pick this note at the 10th fret a couple times. Then he does a quick little hammer on 11, pull off. No, don't. That's kind of just like a quick little grace note he does. Just so hammer on that 11, pull off to 10, and then pull it down, pull off to 8. And then you pick the 10 again, and a few times, and then pull off to 8 again, into a bend at the 10, and then at the top of that bend, you grab that 10 on the high string. So with this. So we have this. From there, All right, so you're gonna hit this. You can just, it's just these double stops at the 10th fret like 3 times across the B and the high E. And then you're gonna go into some unison bends. So this is the 12th fret, you're gonna be holding on the high E, and you're gonna be bending up the 15th fret on the B string to match it. All right, so, and you're gonna do the same thing up the E minor scale. So this is the 12th fret is where this is at, and then this is 14 on the high E with the 17th on the B, all kind of bent up. And then 15 here on the high E, 18 on the B, and then 17 on the high E, 20 on the B. So it is. And then, so that's a quick hammer on from 15 to 17 on the high E string. Just a bend and release then. Gotta pick the 17 a couple times, of course. Just kind of bend and release. Back down to 15. Back to 17 and kind of bend and release again, pull off and back. So it's kind of just mess around those 2 notes. And then we have this. So that's going to be the 15th fret there on the B string. So bend on the 15th on the B string, then pick it without the bend, and then same thing here at the 14th fret on the G string, down to 12. So, and then you're going to come down here. So this is going to be a pull off from 7 to 5 on the A string, and back to the 7. Then back over to 5 on the D string, and then back to that 7, and then that kind of pull off again to the 5, and back to the 7. So you let that ring out, and while you do that, down to the bridge, pick up, and then kick on. I got a tube screamer here, but. All right, so that's obviously, we've kind of ramped up things a little bit. This part really kind of starts soaring here. So we're gonna start with that bend at the 15th fret there on the B string. A couple of bends, release, pull off to 12, and back to the bend of the 15. And then slide into the 17th fret, and then pick it again. So with this. And then come over to the 17th fret on the high string. So that's kind of a bend at the bend and release on the 17th on the high string. Then another bend and release, pull off to 15, and then back to that 17. All right, from there we have this. So we're back down here into this position, so we're gonna, so this, slide in that 9th fret on the G string again, and then play 8, 10, and a couple of bend and release on the 10th fret there on the B string. Pull off to 8, over that 9, so again, a couple more of those bends there and pulling off the 8 and back down to 9. So kind of repeat that phrase. And then that 3rd time, you just make it down to the pull off there at the 8th fret and don't go back down to the 9th fret there on the G. So. And then from there, we're gonna back to that 10th fret there on the B string, pick it a few times, pull off to 8, and then to a bend to the 10th fret, and then put that 10 on the high E string. You can keep those ringing if you. All right, and then we have this little descending double stop line, looks like this. So that kind of follows the string section. I don't know if he's following the string section or the string section's following him or whatever, but that's what's going on. So we basically have here the 15th fret across the B and the high string. And then the 12th fret, same thing. And then the 10th fret. And then you're gonna mix it up just a little bit. It's gonna be 7th fret on the high E, 8th fret there on the B. Let's try this. And then back to just the double stop across the same fret, the 5th fret on the high E string and the B. And then down to the 3rd fret on the B and the high E. And then the open B and open high E don't hit twice. And then into like a D power chord, which is an open D string, 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret there on the B. So this. And then. And so it ends kind of with that same phrase we've been doing. So that's into that, slide into that 9 on the G. Then A, 10. Couple of bends on that 10. Pull off to 8. And then back to the 10. And then we have this. So that's a little bit different. There's a little bit of a rake, kind of just across these 3 strings. Kind of, it's a roll, but it's kind of like a dead roll. You know what I mean? So all the notes don't really need to come out. You're just kind of, you're trying to hear that, which is that 12, 14 on the high string. And then that half step bend at the 14 again. Release, then the 12, and then this next one's gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna do the bend and release at the 12th fret again. But instead of going to the 10th fret after this one like we did earlier in the solo, it's gonna go down to the 8th fret after that. So. Then. So that's that same kind of thing. Like we did earlier, kind of that 10 a few times, pull off to 8, bend up, grab that 10 on the high string. And then we have another one of those descending licks, kind of takes us towards the end of the solo. All right, so this one's slightly different than the one we did before, so we're gonna start. We'll do that much of it's the same, so it's kind of. So we've done that before, like kind of slide into the 9 on the G, then 10, 8, 10, bend and release, and then pull off to that 8 again. So that was just like the previous little descending run we did earlier in the solo. And then the first notes are the same as well. Kind of descending part of it is the same. So that much is the same there. So that pull off from 10 to 8 over to 9 on the G. And then 8 on the B, and then pull off 9 to 7. Here, instead of doing a pull like we did earlier, this one is a little bit different. It goes, so after this, that first pull off from 9 to 7, you're gonna go over to the 9th fret there on the D real quick. Slide down to 7. Pull off to 5, over to 7 on the A string, and then then roll over and pull off 7 to 5 on the D string. So it was a. So after you pull off that 7 5 again, over to 7 on the A string, then back to that 5 on the D, and then back to that 7. So this. And then the last little lick in the solo, very cool. All right, so that's sliding into the 9th fret there on the D string, over to 7 on the G, and you're going to pull off 9 to 7 on the G string. And then you're going to go over to the 7th fret on the B string and do a half step bend and release. Over to 9 on the G string, then 7, and then the last note is that 9th fret there on the D. Just kind of hold that with some vibrato, and then slide it down. Now, I didn't really mention this. It's the same progression that we're doing during the verse, but it's a more simplified version of it. We're not doing all those E drone chords. This is the only part of the song where it's just straight underneath the guitar solos, at least. It's just an E minor to a D major. Obviously, probably not on a big distorted sound, but it's just E minor to D to C. So before we were doing those big fat chords, here it's just straight E minor, D, C, whenever you had the E minor, D, and C chords, not the fancy ones, just straight basic. Otherwise, it follows the same progression. It's just a lot more basic chord forms, and it doesn't have the E drum going underneath it the whole time during the solo, so it's a little bit more succinct. All right, now we're at the outro of the song. We have those chord progressions come in again, the kind of synth and the orchestral track underneath it. It's a little bit different than how it was played earlier in the song, so just for completeness sake, I'll show you guys. It's the same progression, really, but the voicings are slightly different. And I'm going to do it on just electric since I have this in my lap here. So it starts kind of the same with that E minor. But instead of here, when we go into that, remember we did a sharp 9 chord? It doesn't do that version of the C now. It just goes straight to that C add 9 chord, still with the E in the bass. And then to that D add 9. You can really add that F sharp, you really hear it here. And so it just basically does that. So it does this E minor to D with E in the bass. And then it does that C add 9 with E in the bass, and then the D add 9. And it's going to do those between that C add 9 and D add 9. It's going to do it 3 times. So it's just going to replace that sharp 11 chord. And then the song is just going to end on an E minor there. All right, so it's just a slight variation. This chord is basically being replaced with this at the very end of the song. And so just kind of make it a little less dissonant at the very end. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It is an absolute beast of a song. You want to track it down note for note. The chord work can get kind of hairy with all the orchestral parts and stuff, and the harmonies being used. And obviously the solos go on forever, but they're worth covering note for note. Very cool, especially that electric guitar solo. Just absolutely killer. It's kind of David at his absolute best. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.